do I even like him? Like, is this a good idea? Is it going to ruin my life if I do this, if I stay with him? And I can't even describe, like, the mental suffering. We're just living under the same roof, and there's no connection, and there's no intimacy, and he's not able to, like, talk about anything. What has happened to my life? Like, how did I get here? This is so miserable. And, like, this is not the future I wanted for myself.
Warning, listening to this podcast is going to make your marriage irresistible. Whether you're exhausted from carrying everything and just want him to step up and be a real partner, or you're lonely and longing to feel close again and adored, that's totally fixable. I'm Laura Doyle, creator of the 6 Intimacy Skills, and for 27 years, I've been watching women go from burnt out and disconnected to having the passionate, easy marriage they always wanted. Love is learnable. The secrets are real, and this is where I teach them. I'm so glad you're here. Stay to the end for your Try It Tonight takeaway. I'll show you a tiny experiment that had Frankie's brain exploding. Real women, real marriages. This is the Empowered Wife Podcast. Frankie, welcome to the Empowered Wife Podcast. I'm excited you're here.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm so excited to be here. I'm such a big fan of you. I know so many people would probably argue with this, but I feel like I'm kind of your biggest fan. So I'm super happy to be here. I love your energy and I love everything you've done. And I just can't put into words how grateful I am to you for everything.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you. That feels great to hear. So I want to go back to the beginning of your relationship and have you tell us why you were attracted to your man. Like, what was it about him?
Sure. Well, I guess I could say we met when I was pretty young. I was like 18 years old and we met at work, and I think it was my first job, like out of high school. And I just remember thinking, like, he seemed so capable and confident and just self-assured. And he was from a different culture. So he's from a completely different culture than I am, but he lives in my country. And he just had like this totally different vibe that I wasn't used to. And I was just really drawn to it, you know. And I remember it took us a while to actually go on a date. We just sort of got to know each other first for a while, which I quite liked.
Sounds like he was kind of exotic, like something new and
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. He was kind of mysterious, but also like he took the time to get to know me, and you know, we spent quite a bit of time like talking about our cultures and our families and backgrounds and stuff. And I felt like he was very respectful and didn't want to like pressure me into a relationship, which was nice. Yeah. And I think like a great example of just the kind of man that he is when we went on our first date together. So we met for a walk at this river, and I remember when he showed up, he had like 3 or 4 blocks of chocolate with him. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. And so I took them home with me. And then I think I found out about 6 years later that he had meant for me to pick one of them. But he didn't say anything. He just let me take them all. And I was like, that's such a perfect example of what a generous man that he is.
Literally, figuratively, chocolatey, sweet man.
Yeah. Delicious man.
Delicious man.
Yeah.
So, when did you start to have challenges in your relationship?
Well, I have to say it was really early on. For me, it kind of started like not right away, but really soon into it. I grew up in a really religious background. And when I met my partner, I was kind of sort of feeling like my parents' expression of faith like wasn't quite for me. So I wasn't going to church with them anymore and stuff like that. And then I met him, my partner, and then he was from a totally different culture. He didn't follow their religion either. And I think, I was kind of worried what my family would think. You know, I was still super young and I was really insecure, and I didn't really have like much of a sense of self. And so, yeah, I really valued my family's opinions a lot. And I really valued their approval as well. And
Yeah.
I could sort of tell from the beginning that they were a bit concerned, and they were like, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Like maybe he's taking you away from the church, or, maybe it's going to be like bad for you if you end up getting together before you get married and all that kind of thing. So
Mm.
that was one thing that was really hard. And I think also part of it was that I was afraid that they were right as
Mm.
well. And so I kind of had the sense that he didn't really fit in with my family. And then there was a lot of stuff also that went into that. Every time we would be with my family, I'd feel this like need to step in and kind of correct him, or like speak for him, or sort of clarify things that he said or add to what he said so that he didn't sound rude, which is like what I thought they would think.
Mm.
So I did that a lot, unfortunately. It was just so torn, like between wanting my family to like him and accept him, and like wanting him to feel comfortable.
There was always this underlying tension of like, my family doesn't like him or doesn't approve, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe feeling some pressure that you had to show them, no, you had made a good choice, and that
Mm-hmm.
he was okay, and this you were going to kind of massage the middle of that relationship to make it go smoother,
Mm-hmm.
and it ended up being pretty stressful. It sounds like.
Yeah. And to be honest, it didn't really get better for a long time. A lot of my problems were from me just like not really knowing what I wanted and not being able to express it. And then kind of hoping that other people would just notice and do things. And then feeling resentful and angry when they didn't just read my mind. And I also started to just notice like little things about my partner that I don't really like that. And I started to feel like pretty early on, like he's kind of boring. Like like we don't even really have anything to talk about. Like we don't have things in common. He's not interested in the things I'm interested in. Like I love talking about like people and relationships and ideas. And then he's just like not that at all. He's like Mr. Practical. I guess I would feel like a bit neglected too. Because I was like, well, in relationships, you're supposed to feel like you really want to spend time with the other person, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, I started to have a lot of like insecurities about that stuff. And also I would see other things that he would do that I just didn't feel good about. Like, I don't know, like he would just sort of dismiss like my opinions quite often, or
Mm.
like he would disagree with me. Like he would often correct me or like tell me I didn't know what I was talking about. And that was a really like a huge sore spot for me when it came to psychology, because I studied that. And like sometimes I would come home and tell him about something I learned, and then he'd be like, well, no, that's BS. Like those people don't know what they're talking about. And I'd get so defensive. Like
Yeah.
it would make me
Oh,
so mad. I'd be like, excuse me, these people have studied this. I have studied this. There's like research backing this up, and you don't know anything about it. And yet here you are just like with your little idea thinking that you know better than all of these people.
yeah.
Um,
And probably if
yeah.
having some grief about the loss of connection with your family, it doesn't sound like you were entirely disconnected, but you also
Mm,
feeling supported, and
mm-hmm.
you had been up until that time.
Yeah.
And I hear you about, I can relate to just relying on one person to be my everything and not having
Mm-hmm.
that go very well. So, and then there was the part where, yeah, he was, you were feeling so hurt that he was dismissing what you'd learned at uni. Yeah,
Mm,
and feeling like he's insensitive. So, yeah, I can imagine. It
mm-hmm.
sounds hurtful and lonely.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. And I think I sort of probably, I invited people to interfere and I didn't realize I was doing it. And that's probably why I would have like talks from my family and stuff. Because sometimes I would like talk to my mum. And I actually, a couple of times I would go to her with like my concerns about the relationship and stuff. And like she really tried to help me and she really just wanted what was best for me. But like, unfortunately, I would leave those conversations feeling like, well, we have to break up because like we're just not compatible. Like, you know, I would mention like, yeah, he doesn't really seem to care about my feelings that much. And then she'd say, well, like, you know, like, well, what about, why don't you go and like live the rest of your life a bit and just like do like what you were planning to do and go to uni and just grow up a little and then you can decide if you want to have a relationship with somebody. But this is just so rushed and stuff. So yeah, I did actually kind of break up with him a couple of times, I think. I would go and meet with him and then I'd tell him like I didn't think it was going to work and then I'd give some reason. I don't remember what I would say, but just like, I think we're just too different and this and that. And every time I would see his face, he just, like, he didn't really respond in like a big emotional way. He would just sort of not really look at me, but be like side on. And I could see like that he would tear up. And like, that was like the most of a reaction that I would get. But I'm like, it just like ripped my heart out to see it. And so then I would just be like crying and go back to my parents' house. And I just couldn't take it. Like, especially like the second time, I was like, no, I just can't do it. I'm too weak. And so I would go back and then like that only happened 2 times. And then after that, I was like, I can't keep doing this to him. I either have to leave or I have to just choose to stay. But I always had this lingering feeling of like, I think I'm just making a huge mistake.
Yes. And hard, heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, was there, I mean, you were trying to break up. It didn't work out. There was a moment you thought, we can't go on like this.
I would just keep having these thoughts of like, you know, we're not compatible probably. Like, it's not going to work. Do I even like him? Like, is this a good idea? Is it going to ruin my life if I do this, if I stay with him? And I can't even describe like the mental suffering that happens when you have it, because it's not just like normal anxiety. It's like 24/7 constantly ruminating about it. So as you can imagine, that was like exhausting to deal with.
It sounds exhausting. Yes.
Yeah. And it takes up so much of your mental space. And I think, yeah, it really like stopped me from being able to enjoy things in a lot of ways. Because even if we would have nice times together, it was kind of like, oh, is this just for now? Like, when's it going to get bad again, kind of thing.
When's the other shoe going to drop? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. In the beginning of the relationship, he was really into me, which was lovely. And you know, he wanted to do it like pretty much every day. But I just really struggled in that area. Like, I think part of it was just carrying quite a lot of like guilt and shame from, you know, like my childhood and stuff. Like, I always had this sense of like, I'm doing something wrong because we're not married. And so that kind of made it hard to enjoy being intimate for me. And so I did start to reject him quite a lot. And then over time, he sort of just like stopped asking so much, and it just sort of dwindled to a point where it just was like, I don't really know when it would happen last. So that was hard, but also at the same time, I felt like I didn't really enjoy like PI because I just didn't know what I liked and I didn't know what I wanted, and didn't know how to communicate around it. So I preferred to just sort of avoid it anyway. Like, it was just a big uncomfortable experience for me. Yeah. So there was a lot going on there. And then I think we moved again after like a few years to a bigger city. Yeah, and I think at this point he started his own business. Yeah, and he didn't have a lot of money saved, so he actually ended up borrowing a lot of money from other people and also the people he's getting the business from. I felt like I needed to help him for some reason, even though I have absolutely no knowledge of how to run a business or money. And like, I know nothing about any of that, and I'm not a practical person. But I was like, I need to just make sure that he doesn't do something like irresponsible because he's spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would just sort of be like, are you sure like you want to borrow all that money from like your friends and stuff? Or like, how are you going to pay it back? And obviously he's, like I said, he's very competent and capable. And so he was going to do what he was going to do no matter what I said. Okay. I was proud of him for going and doing his own thing. But at the same time, I started to feel a lot of pressure. Because I thought, if this doesn't work out, then I'll have to sort of take a lot of the financial burden on. And then surprise, surprise, that's what happened over time. So yeah, he wasn't getting a lot of work, and I had been studying, and I decided to just like take a pause because I was like, well, we can't actually afford things anymore because he's not making enough money. So I guess I'll just go and work full time and like, make up for it. I think I didn't want to admit though that I was resentful because I don't know why. I just didn't feel good about it, but I still felt resentful. Like, my way of communicating that I was like worried about stuff was, at first it was actually just to not tell him and then get really upset when he didn't know and then sulk. But then over time I started to feel like, well, he's not going to know if I don't tell him. And that's what like some therapists that I would go and see, they would tell me that as well. Like, he's not a mind reader. And so you have to let him know what's going on. Otherwise he won't be able to help you or do anything. And so I would sometimes have like little State of the Unions with him, as you call them. I love that name for them because it's exactly what it feels like. Yeah, so I'd sit him down, or I'd be like, hey, can I talk to you? He'd never responded well to me, like any of my efforts to communicate. So that was quite tough. And I still had the resentment of like feeling like I had to pick up a lot of slack. And then like over time, he still was like having quite a hard time with the business. And I felt like, he was getting a bit depressed, and he had been drinking like somewhat. But I just felt like it really just skyrocketed, after like a year or so into him running his business. And that was really scary for me. So I had these stories in my head of like, he's gonna become an alcoholic, or, we're gonna lose everything. He's like, he has to run his own business. He can't be like drinking every single day. And I would like watch how much he drank and be just like terrified. I'd think like that amount would put me in a hospital. And he's doing that every single day. And so I was just constantly like keeping an eye on him, and like monitoring how much he was drinking. And, I'd make like passive aggressive comments like, oh, you sure you're going to drink that much? Or like, oh, how are you gonna do your job tomorrow? Yeah. And obviously like it was because I was so afraid but I didn't want to like outwardly just say like, this is crazy, what are you doing? But then after enough time, I did get to that point as well. And so there were a couple of times where I would sit him down and I would say like I'm terrified of what you're doing. Like you're drinking so much and you're also depressed, and I think you need to see a doctor. And like, I can't be in a relationship with someone who has an addiction, and I'm worried that that's where you're going. And I will also should mention too, like the sex had completely disappeared at this point. I think it was like an entire year where there was nothing. And I was putting it down to him being depressed, and like eventually I felt like I didn't even really want to. Like, I was like, I'm not even really attracted to him anymore, which it feels awful to say that, but I just felt like I was doing so much and he was giving me nothing. We're just living under the same roof and there's no connection and there's no intimacy, and he's not able to like talk about anything about the future. I think I got to a point where like I was actually going to see like a counselor for a while, like during this not current, but period where I was up to. I was really feeling like things are just so bad. And I feel like I've tried everything. Like I've tried all of the using the I statements and like not blaming him. I thought I wasn't, because I said it really nicely, but I was actually still blaming him. Like, when you do X, I feel Y. So super blamey. I hate it now, but I thought I was doing the right thing.
Right. That's what all the experts say to do. So
yeah. And one of my therapists at this time, she gave me some advice that, I thought it was good advice at the time, but actually it was probably like one of the worst things I could have done. Yeah, I think I was saying to her, like, I feel like I can't get through to him, and I'm trying to tell him how important it is to me that we communicate. And he's just not giving me anything. And I want to tell him how important it is, but I don't want to be like harsh or mean. And then she said, maybe you do need to hurt his feelings a little bit so that he knows how serious you are. I know. And so after that, I went home and I sat him down and I said, I said all the things that I had said to him in other talks, but I basically like told him, like not in these words, but what he would have heard was just all the ways that he was failing as a partner and as a man, and how disappointed I was in him. And every time I think about that, I get so sad. Because I realize like how much that must have hurt. And so like it was just because I was so afraid and I had no idea what to do. And I thought like this man is heading for like an early grave. And I just felt so powerless. And obviously that conversation didn't help us at all. And he just sat there and he didn't really say much. But he did get irritated when I was like floundering about what I was trying to say. And he's like, just say what you want to say. Like, stop like beating around the bush, basically. And I couldn't bring myself to just say it straight. And so I kind of ended the conversation in this place where I was like, I think I want to break up, but I just kind of need some time to like decide. And so he obviously was just like, I think he was pretty devastated.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what has happened to my life? Like, how did I get here? This is so miserable. And like, this is not the future I wanted for myself.
No.
I don't want my family to know because then I'm proving them right. Like it was a huge deal for me. Just like I didn't want anyone to know how bad it was, and so I just was like really isolated. And I still wasn't sure if I wanted to leave or not, but I thought, like if he's not going to change, I've been working on myself all of these years, and he just doesn't seem to care about that at all. And so my therapist said, like if you're not leaving today, at least, like why not just try and work on yourself in the meantime while you decide. And I think that was the one piece of really good advice that she gave me. Because I just thought, well, I might as well. Like, I'm not ready to leave today, so I'll just see what else I can find out there and see, like, if there's something that I've missed, And so I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I found some pretty good stuff. Like, in a way, I got, like, tiny little bits and pieces, and I had recognized that I was controlling before I found your book and everything, but I just didn't realize the extent of how much controlling I was. But yeah, so I was trying to work on that, and I actually, on my own, I had the idea to apologize to my partner for being controlling around his drinking. Because I realized, like, he's going to do what he's going to do. And at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do to stop him. Like, clearly there's nothing I can do because I've tried everything. And I've tried convincing him and sending him articles and videos to watch and doing online quizzes on his behalf to see if he's an alcoholic. Like, just like everything you could think of.
Yes.
Yeah. And I thought, well, none of that's worked. And, maybe if he feels like accepted just as he is, maybe it will help. And so I actually did go to him and I said, like, I'm sorry for trying to control you around your drinking. And I even said, like, I trust you to do what's best for your own health.
Wow.
Which I know, like, pre-intimacy skills is kind of crazy that I came up with that one. And I didn't keep up the good work after that, Laura, because I had no idea what I did right. Yeah, but it actually helped. And I was like, huh. Like, it didn't necessarily change his drinking, but I felt like a change between us when that happened. And I noticed, like, almost straight away, he started to open up to me a bit more. And I was like, whoa, this is different. Like, and then one day he said, I want to cut back on the drinking, like completely unprompted. And I had also committed to, like, not bringing it up anymore and not, like, keeping an eye on him.
Wow.
And he even booked a doctor's appointment for himself just to, like, check on everything and see that he was okay. And I was just amazed. I was like, that's what I was trying to get him to do the whole time. And as soon as I, like, let go of it, he decided to do it on his own. So that was, like, a really interesting experience.
Yeah. So a little epiphany there, like, huh? This did more work than all the articles and the videos and the concern. Yeah.
Yeah.
More good.
Yeah. And then I think maybe like a month or so into this, like, limbo period I was in, I got suggested a podcast on Spotify. And I think the title was, like, Top 10 Ways to Control Your Husband. And I was like, what on earth is this? Why did Spotify recommend this to me? Like, I'm a young, like, feminist woman, and I don't know how this got here. And so I think I clicked out of it at that point. And then I just kept getting, like, episodes suggested to me. And I just remembered this is because I think I had searched for podcasts, I had searched like how to feel empowered in your relationship.
Oh,
And so the Empowered Wife podcast must have
you
come
asked for
up.
it by name, so
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Got exactly what I asked for, but I didn't realize. So yeah, I kept getting those like episodes recommended to me. And I thought, well, you know what? Like, I've already done so much and tried so many things. Why not just like see if there's something helpful in these? And so I started to listen more and more. And then I realized that there were these women talking who had like really similar experiences to me. And then even like some of your own stories, Laura, that you would share at the end, I thought, oh my God, she actually knows what this is like. And like these women actually do know. I kept hearing more and more episodes where these women had just like turned their relationships around, and like also without their husband's conscious effort, which is what you say. And that part really got to me because I was like, well, this is what I need, because he's not going to make any conscious effort, that's for sure. So yeah, it filled me with this like sense of hope. And I just hadn't felt that in so many years. I had got to a point where I was like, well, I guess my life's just kind of going to suck, because I don't know how to get what I want. And so this was a totally different tune for me. And I just thought like really, is this really something that can actually help me? And so I got really excited after that. I decided to make like a little checklist of the 6 intimacy skills and then kind of like assess myself on them and like see which ones that I should work on first. Like which ones am I the worst at, basically. And so I did. I went through and I got all the little definitions for each of them. And then at the end I was like, oh no. I've not been doing any of these at all. Like, I've been absolutely terrible. Like, my self-care wasn't good. That's probably the thing I was, like, the closest to being okay at. I was disrespectful. I was controlling. I wasn't vulnerable. And I was a terrible receiver, and I had no idea. Yeah, and what's the other one? Am I missing one?
Gratitude.
Gratitude. Yes. I was like, I hadn't appreciated him at all, and I wasn't thanking him for things because I felt like he wasn't doing anything for me, and I felt like he needed to do things the right way for me to thank him as well. So I was like withholding all of this stuff, and I was like, I've got a lot of work to do. I've got a lot of work to do. I think maybe the first thing I tried actually was expressing a desire. And I really liked what you said, actually, about without expectation. Because I think part of me was like, well, I feel like he's probably not going to do it anyway. So it was kind of easy for me to give up the expectation that he would. But I was like, at least I can just like try saying it this way that Laura suggests and then see if it works. And so I think one day we were just like hanging out in the same room. And I just said, like, oh, I would love some tea. And that's all I said. And I was like, okay, now we just, like, let go of the outcome and then just see if anything happens. And if it doesn't, that's fine. Whatever. And he just sort of didn't respond, and he sat there for, like, 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, he got up from the couch. And then he walked into the kitchen. And then I heard him moving some, like, pots and pans around, and I was like, wait a minute. What's he doing in there? And I really wanted to go have a look, but I was like, no, don't, just leave it alone. And then I realized he was, like, boiling the water on the stove, and he was making tea.
Wow.
And I was like, what is this? Could not believe it, because I just felt like he hadn't done anything for me in so long. And I would ask him to do things a lot, and he just wouldn't. I love how you talk about like other people's brains exploding when you use an intimacy skill on them. But for me, it was my own brain exploding when I used the intimacy skills. Because I was like, I cannot believe this worked. Like, it just, So that really like was the first thing that showed me that this could actually work for me. Yeah.
So exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah. And I think the next thing I did was making a gratitude list. Yeah, because I think this was a huge thing for me, was like, I had so many negative stories about my man. So many negative beliefs, like he's emotionally unavailable. He doesn't care about my feelings. He's not good at talking to people. He's, arrogant. He thinks he knows better than other people. And it was just such a long list, and I didn't realize how many negative beliefs I had ended up with about him. And so I decided to do a gratitude list and just put anything I could think of down that I did like about him, or appreciated at least. Like, if there's anything that he would do for me. And I think what really convinced me to do it was, I think you said, maybe it was in the book or the podcast, but you said like, maybe it's about a man being selfish or something. You said, no one is 100% selfish. And so even if they're 99% selfish, they could be 1% not selfish, or maybe even more than that if you look for the evidence. And so I was like, actually, I agree with that. And so, yeah, I started making my gratitude list. And then there were some things that I found were really easy to put down. Like, he has always been loyal. Like, never once have I felt like he was going to be unfaithful to me. He never threatened to leave me once. He never made me feel like he was like looking at other women or anything like that. And so that was an easy one. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And then in terms of like maybe doing stuff for me, that was a bit harder, because I realized that I had been taking on everything. And I was such a bad receiver before, that he would like offer to do things for me or pay for things, and then I would just say, no, it's okay, I'll do it because you can't afford to, like, or you should save your money. And so I had all of these things, like little things that he would do, and I just like cried and cried when I had my list and I saw all the things that were on there, because I realized, like, no wonder things ended up like this, because I had taken away like every opportunity for him to be a hero for me. Like, I wasn't taking anything that he was offering me, and I was really just like throwing things back in his face a lot of the time, and it's probably like really emasculating. And so I felt like so convicted about my behavior after I did that list. I just thought, like, he's been trying this whole time. He really just wanted me to be happy. And the reason why he wouldn't engage when I would have these State of the Unions with him was probably because he knew how much it hurt my feelings if he would be like verbally aggressive or anything. And so the only other option is just to shut down. And so, like, it just really made me understand, like, his point of view a bit more. And so, yeah, then I committed to doing, like, gratitudes every day, at least 3. Then, things just started to feel, like, a lot safer between us. Yeah, and I noticed, like, for some reason, he just started, like, finding me when I was in my room. Like, he was somewhere else in the house and I'd be in my room doing a hobby or something, And then he'd just kind of poke his head through the door and just like want to say hi or like talk to me. And I was like, huh, okay, it's also different. It's exactly the same guy. And I know, I just could not believe he would just come in and he'd want to chat and I would just listen. And then I'd listen some more and I'd listen some more. And then like all of a sudden it was like half an hour. And I was like, oh my God, like what happened? Things just felt like easier all of a sudden. Yeah, like he started to be like a lot more gentle and warm, and he's like wanted to flirt and cuddle a bit more, and I was like, oh, so this is what they were talking about. Like it was just really nice. And like I felt like there wasn't as much tension at least, and we weren't bickering. But there was still like no physical intimacy. And, I really just felt like I was missing that romance, And I was like, I feel like this can be fixed, but I just don't know how. I was listening to the book and all the podcasts I was listening like every day. And then I heard you talking about respect and how that's the best aphrodisiac for men. And I had already been working on respect a bit, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll really hone in on it now and see what happens, And I did try to relinquish control also of like the timeline, because I realized like if you are trying to use the skills to change him, then maybe it's not like, that's not what they're for. Right. So,
Not a bad
yeah,
place
so
to start, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people start for that reason and then they realize. But yeah, I really tried to focus a bit more on that. And I felt like it wasn't super hard, but the only thing was like me, like I used to sort of question his judgment a lot. And also just like telling him that he was wrong, or maybe he didn't know better than everyone else. Like those things were definitely very disrespectful. And so I really made an effort to just like let him do what he was doing and not make any comments about it and not try and be the expert on his life. And yeah, I like the intimacy didn't really come back, but I did sort of notice like he seemed a lot more confident. And I don't know if it's because of that necessarily, but I do feel like it at least played a part. Like he just seemed to have like, a bit more spring in his step, and he seemed a bit more motivated. And, when I would say things like, whatever you think, because he didn't really ask me what I thought that much, to be fair, because, he's Mr. Capable, and I never gave him good advice, clearly, so he was like, what's the point? But, I started to really be like, using like spouse fulfilling prophecies, like, you do so much for me and you're so capable and I can't wait to watch you succeed. And, you're so good at dealing with people and just things that I didn't quite believe. But I was like, why not just say it anyway and build him up? And he just really seemed to be so much more confident over time. Like, I started to feel like he's not really depressed anymore.
Wow.
And maybe he was just like, spending time watching videos as like his own self-care in a way. And drinking also, like I don't know if calling it self-care is the best thing, but I'm like, who am I to judge like how he copes with the immense amount of stress that he's under? Like, maybe there's a healthier way to do it, but it's not my decision and it's not on my paper. So that stuff was all really big for me, like changing the way I showed up and showing respect to him. Yeah, so that was a beautiful thing. Yeah, but then with the PI, that was still a lingering thing. I was like, we're getting along really well, and we're even flirting, and like I felt like the connection was there. But then just the physical side was still not. And I was like, what am I doing wrong then? Because I'm being really respectful and I'm relinquishing control and I'm expressing gratitude. And I'm even like trying to be vulnerable. Cause that's something that I was really just like allergic to doing before the skills. Like I didn't want him to see me crying ever because it was embarrassing and I felt like weak. And I felt like I had to be strong for the both of us for a long time. So I wasn't used to the idea of like vulnerability. And so, yeah, I was trying that as well a little bit, just being like softer and gentle and like learning how to say, like express my feelings without blaming him or criticizing him. That was surprisingly difficult. Because I think a lot of the language that I had ingrained in me, like over the years, was very blamey, and it's kind of hard to come out of that habit. But I did sort of get the hang of that. Like, I can't really think of an example right now, but I think it was genuinely just me really focusing on, like, what am I feeling? And it's like, if I said, for example, like, I feel like neglected, that's not being vulnerable, for me at least, because it's like, if you neglected, that's an action that somebody's taking. And so, like, the translation to them is, you are neglecting me.
That's right.
And so that would always lead to defensiveness from him, and I never understood why until the skills. And so I would just say, like, I'm feeling really lonely, or, like, just like something, I just try to be really clear and simple instead of being vague and like, oh, I just feel like my life's not going the way I want it to. Like, that doesn't really give him anything to work with.
No.
Because it's too random. But yeah, if I just say something really simple, then he wanted to kind of like be my hero and come in and be really gentle. And I noticed when I started being vulnerable in that way, he started to like respond in a really sweet way that I wasn't used to. Like, when I used to cry and tell him like how I was all sad and stressed out and stuff, he would either sit there and say nothing, or he would get like irritated with me and then say like, why are you crying? Like, there's no point. It doesn't help anything. And sometimes he would just walk out of the room while I was like,
ouch,
having the worst days of my life. I know. And so now I would just say like, I just feel like sad about this or that or whatever. I can't think of a good example right now, but, and then he would just like, he'd just go like, oh, and then come and give me a cuddle.
No way.
And I know. Like, I do have an example. This was like the other evening, and I forgot to mention this, that I have a history of like a bit of trouble sleeping, and I had insomnia for a really long time. And so I have a bit of like sensitivity around things getting in the way of my sleep. Like he used to snore, and so we don't sleep in the same rooms anymore because I cannot sleep with the snoring. It's too loud for me. So that's an I can't. And also just like if anybody's making a lot of noise, I can't sleep, and I get sometimes still kind of stressed out and sometimes really angry even now. And like the other night he was on the phone, and he talks really loudly when he's on the phone, and the walls in our house are really thin. And so I was like starting to get frustrated because I was like, I've got work the next day. And I was trying to think of the right way to say, like what my desire was without like being controlling. But I was like, I also just really need to sleep. And if I relinquish control of like the outcome, maybe I'm just not going to sleep. And so I was getting kind of worked up. And so I went out and asked him to like go into our spare room at first. And then he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do it soon. And then he didn't. And so I went back to my room, and then I just kept getting more and more angry. And I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. And then I think I went out again, and I just started crying because I was really exhausted. And I'm not like great at handling my feelings when I'm exhausted, like probably most people. And I just went out there and I was like, I'm sorry, like I know it's not your fault. I used to have insomnia, and so like every time I have another night like this where I can't sleep, I get scared that it's going to happen again. And then he just like gave me a big cuddle, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, like I didn't know.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's what being vulnerable is for. Like,
Yes.
and that's how to do
Figure
it,
out the
because it's
difference.
not, you're
Yeah.
not attacking the other person. Yeah,
Great
so
clarity. Great
it's
clarity.
been beautiful to see, how gentle he actually is. And I realized that he does actually know me so well, which I never thought he did back in the day. Like, he's actually super in tune to my feelings, and probably more than I even want him to be. Like, sometimes I'll be like feeling something and I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to have a problem. And he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, no, I thought I was trying to hide it well, but I guess not. But yeah, he's really observant, and he just, he's so gentle and sweet now, and he's good at listening, and like he really does actually understand me, probably better than like anyone else that I know. And it's just like, it's been amazing to see the changes that have happened. Like, yeah, and I got totally off track. Sorry, I was talking about PI, wasn't I? But yeah, I think I was at the point where I was like, things are so much better now, but this is still missing, and I kind of just like wondering if I'm doing something wrong. And I think I went on the Empowered Wife group. Yeah, and I just posted on there, and I was just sort of being like, maybe having a vent, but also like seeing if there's something that I've missed maybe. And yeah, I think it was somebody was like, are you being respectful? And I was like, yeah. Like it was like a brief version of what they said, but I was like, no, I'm doing that, and I'm relinquishing control. And then I thought, maybe I'm not though, because I am sort of still trying to get this to happen when I want it to happen. But then one other thing really made like a light bulb go off in my head, which was being Gothel, girl of fun and light. And I had like totally forgotten about that bit when I was reading the book. I was like, maybe if I do that a bit more. Because I noticed like that when my partner and I seem to feel the most connected is like when we're joking around together. And he's always been like a bit of a jokester, and we like to be silly and stuff. And so I thought maybe I'll do that too. And also doing a lot of self-care. Like if I feel like I'm not getting everything I want, I'm like, well, this is actually my responsibility to do self-care and make sure that I'm feeling good. And so I did that a bit more, and I just started like joking around back with him instead of like getting irritated like I used to do. Like he's quite a teaser, and so sometimes he'll do things that I find like irritating, but he's like just trying to have fun. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go along with it and not get annoyed. And so I did. And I started to also have like a smile campaign. So every day when I got home from work, I decided that no matter like what kind of day I've had or if I'm tired or whatever, I would just greet him with a smile and be enthusiastic. And so I did that too. And I was like amazed at the difference that had. Like that's an underrated skill in my opinion. It's like just being like having a smile on your face when you greet him. It made a huge difference. Like his energy would totally change when I'd walk in the door with a smile versus when I wouldn't. And like the rest of the day would also follow that trajectory too. And so, yeah, and that's also, I think, connected to self-care as well, because like all of that is all well and good, right? But if you're not getting self-care and not taking care of yourself, you're kind of pouring from an empty cup. And I think that's something I really had to understand. Like I said before, like I was pretty okay at self-care, I thought. Of course, I skipped the self-care chapter when I first read the book, like every other woman ever, because I thought like, yeah, but it's because I thought I already do that. So I don't really need to do that. Or like, I don't need to read it all. But what I think I was missing from that chapter was like the effect that it's supposed to have. Because I think before I would do my hobbies and stuff and like spend a lot of time doing things I enjoyed, but it was almost like as a way of avoiding my partner. And it was like just so I could escape feeling lonely, basically. And so I had to kind of change like my motivation, I guess, for doing it. And I thought if it makes me feel really happy and like changes my energy, then that means I'm doing it right. And so, yeah, sorry, I just needed this water. Yeah. So I think that was a big one for me, actually, self-care. I love what you said, or you've said so much stuff about it, but things like it's not just important to do self-care as a woman. It's like kind of like absolutely necessary to have a good relationship. And you know what? You won me over just by saying that, to be honest, because I was like, I love doing things that I enjoy. And that's all I've ever wanted was like to have like a happy, cushy, fun, comfortable life. And just to like have fun, you know, and just enjoy things. And it just felt like you gave me permission to be happy. And that just like, it just changed like everything for me. Just feeling like I not only deserve to want things and feel good, I actually need to do it. And it's actually a really like selfless thing to do. And that was just, it was wonderful. Because I was like, okay, awesome. I can actually focus on what I want. And it just like opens up so many different options. Yeah, and I think it really took a huge weight off of me as well. Like, just feeling like my priority was to take care of myself and really just focus on what I wanted and stop focusing on my partner and what he was doing and what he wanted. And just really, yeah, just be on my own page. It just took so much pressure off of me and I felt so much more relaxed. And I think my nervous system was just begging me to do that for like pretty much my entire life. So that was awesome. And so, yeah, I think that is when things really started to change with the PI, was when I was really leaning into that like fun, easygoing, feminine side and just like showing up and being like really happy and just doing things that I enjoy, even if there was other stuff that needed to be done. Just putting my enjoyment first made a huge difference. And I think that was when he actually initiated it for the first time in about a year. I think that was like in February this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have felt amazing.
It did. It did. Yeah, it was so beautiful. And I remember like he was really like passionate and tender, and he just said, "I love you so much." And the next day too, I think this is when I knew like the skills had really worked. Was he came up to me and I said, this is the next morning, I was like, I had a really nice time last night and I really missed it, And I think he did pull me into a hug and he said, I'm so sorry for like ignoring you and just being distant. I was just so stressed about work that I just couldn't think about. I couldn't think about sex, and I love you so much and thank you for being so patient with me. And I just it warmed my heart so much. I just thought what a beautiful sentiment and what a tender moment to share with someone that you care about so much. It really felt like that's what I wanted this whole time. It wasn't even the act of intimacy itself. It was just the feeling of being that safe and that connected and just loving towards each other. So it was really beautiful.
Great job, Frankie. I love that story.
Thank you.
What a great
Me
outcome.
too.
What would your tip be for someone who's stuck where you were, where you feel like you've tried everything, you've studied psychology, he's distant, he's drinking, you're feeling resentful, and she wants what you have now with this beautiful tenderness and connection that you're enjoying now. What's your tip? What would you say?
Oh, it's so hard to pick just one. But I think for me, the thing that really was the basis of changing everything was changing my focus. Obviously self-care and stuff is super important, but I feel like your focus is something that people might sort of not notice or not think about as much. And for me, I realized that I was manifesting everything that I got, including all of the horrible stuff that I had. It's because I had these stories about my partner being a failure, and I was focusing on the things I didn't want to happen. And then that's what I got. And so I would say I genuinely, in the beginning, I really didn't think that it was possible that he wasn't those bad things. And so I had to have a little bit of faith just to see if there's 1% chance that he's not that bad thing. And then look for the evidence that he shows the good qualities that I was looking for. And so that would be my advice is even if you think he's definitely a bad guy, or even if you think this is hopeless, he's probably never going to change, or we're just not compatible, or whatever it is, just look for even that 1% of evidence that what you are hoping for is actually true. Because you'd be amazed at the things that can happen when you choose to focus on what you want and you just stop focusing on the things you don't want.
Love it. Well, what would you say to Frankie if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
I've thought about this one a lot. I don't know exactly, but I think I would give her a big hug. And I would just validate her first. I would just say you have suffered so much and you've been so strong And I'm so like proud of you for not giving up and just being like determined to grow as a person, even if things have been super hard. And I think I would say to her, like, it has not all been a waste, I promise. Like, every single challenge that you've been through has helped to shape you into this amazing person that you're going to find out you're going to be, like, one day. And one day you will be grateful. I know it's probably going to be crappy to hear that right now, but, like, trust me, this is all going to turn into something amazing. And you will be so glad that you went through every single bit of it, because, like, otherwise you won't get to the place that you're at. So yeah, I would say that to her. Just don't give up. It's all going to be worth it in the end, and things will be more amazing than you ever thought that they could be. So just try to keep an open mind.
Very gentle and loving and sweet. And I just want to thank you so much. You did a great job telling your story to us today. And
Thank
you
you.
have an incredible transformation. I want to congratulate you. It's so impressive what you've done. And I know it's not easy. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of openness to be willing to do these experiments. And you did them. So great job. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I couldn't have done it without you, Laura. I'm grateful for you every single day. And yeah, I just want to thank you for being so courageous and putting your work out there for us to share and being so vulnerable. Because you've saved so many relationships. People, even who aren't married as well, need this stuff. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Thank you. You've been with me here every week learning the secrets that happy wives know. So I want to invite you to come practice them in person with me at the Adored Wife Weekend. It's 3 days in Anaheim, California with me, our coaches, and a whole room full of women just like you. We're going to laugh until it hurts. We're going to dance to the 80s, and we're going to put these skills to work live. Your marriage is going to feel it. October 9th through the 11th, early bird pricing ends July 24th. So save $100 and register right now at adoredwifeweekend.com and come practice with us. I'll save you a seat. Okay, your try it tonight takeaway is expressing a pure desire. That's it. Expressing a pure desire. For the purposes of this experiment, we're just going to do a tiny one. Remember when Frankie was sitting on the couch with her husband and she casually said, I would love some tea. She didn't make a PowerPoint presentation about why she wanted it or where it was in the kitchen cabinet. She just shared one little desire. And she thought, if it happens, then great. And if not, that's also okay. And then her guy got up, rummaged a little with the pots and pans, and made her some tea. After years of telling him to do things and feeling ignored, Frankie felt like her brain was exploding. So here's your experiment. What would you love? A cup of tea, fresh flowers to fill your grandmother's vase, a chocolate chip cookie the size of your head? What sounds delightful to you? And if you're feeling brave, say it out loud and let it float away. Are you ready to try it? Yeah? Okay, then go, go, go.